Vera, good evening everybody. Welcome to your box seat at this most festive time of the year. I hope if you're on holidays already, things are going well for you. Great to have your company. Greg O'Connor is here for the night, and we love a Christmas fairy tale. Last week, Greg, in the Queen of Hearts at Alexandra Park, we got a very real one. Yeah, we certainly did, Michael. A rare, of course, dead heat. Not since the Inter-Dominion final have we seen one of those, way back in the 60s. So looking forward to reviewing that and so many other great races from the park with a view towards the 31st, which is going to be magnificent. Yeah, we're in the eye of a storm with so much huge racing just behind us, so much still to come up. But you don't see many like the Queen of Hearts at Alexandra Park last Friday. The established queen of Australasian harness racing was there in front, Natalie Rasmussen, but she was joined right on the line by the fairy tale story of the harness racing season so far. Here is the Queen of Hearts.
Passing lane. Now Bonnie Joan hits her hopples out wide. Party on, Joe's Dream. Bonnie Joan down the outside. A great tussle for Group 1. Glory who gets it. It's very, very tight. Very tight on the line. Party on, Joe's Dream. I'm going to stay out of it. It's that close then. Bonnie Joan third.
The fact that it's a dead heat won't really matter to you, Andre Potama, to get your first Group 1. Amanda Kitties as well. There's a pretty special moment.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good actually. Any Group 1's always good, but I'm just wrapped. I'm over the moon. Don't know what to say.
You got off the gate nicely. She's very quick. I know Amanda's had a lot of trouble with this horse, keeping her happy, keeping her sound. So this is a remarkable training effort to win a Group 1.
Yeah, no, it is good. She was a little bit disappointed first 2 runs back, so Amanda was a little bit worried. She wasn't sure whether to put her out for a spell or not, so she drove herself at the trials, and even tonight she still wasn't sure. But she's got that good, great speed, and she showed it tonight, and yeah, right place, right time.
This girl was very brave because she got plenty of pressure.
Oh, she was, Greg. You know, big improvement on last week. She obviously needed that run really bad. You know, probably just had to go a little bit hard, probably between the 6 and the 300. But yeah, no, she fought on great. You know, she never gave up. There
was no doubt that Joe's Dream got the lead. She's actually had to fight back to grab a share of the win, so that just shows how brave she was.
Oh, most definitely. She fought back hard, and she does have a very big head.
Congratulations to you, Nat.
Thank you, Greg.
So the winning drivers, no surprise, and half of those are, Greg, you're used to speaking to Natalie Rasmussen after Group 1s. Andre Potama, not so much. No, that's right, and it was great to catch up with him. Actually, Natalie said to me, go and talk to him first, which I thought was a pretty nice gesture, and yeah, he was blown away. He actually didn't think he'd won the race, but didn't matter that it was a dead heat. An enormous thrill for Amanda Kitty. I mentioned that dead heat in the Inter-Dominion at Forbury Park. Phil Williamson texted me through JR and Robin Dundee, and I haven't been told otherwise. I can't think of another Group 1 dead heat. Can you? There was the Sires Stakes at Addington. Fergie Mack and Gotta Go Cullen. Yep. So that was a Group 1. Yeah, they're very, very rare, of course, because I actually thought Party On had won. And I thought maybe she deserved to win because the other horse got the passing lane, but I enjoyed the fact, and I think everybody watching the show enjoyed the fact that Joe's Dream did actually get up to dead heat. Yeah, it was pretty cool, and it gave me an opportunity to, for the first time, have a chat to Amanda Kitty, and yeah, you'll see this interview now. She was quite delightful.
Amanda, regardless of it being a dead heat, that's got to be awfully satisfying.
Oh yeah, just having her here tonight, you know, because she hasn't raced for 6 weeks, or I think it is, so I was happy with third. I thought she got third. I was over the moon with that, but now it's just, it hasn't sunk in yet, but yeah, it's just unreal.
Tell me about some of the trials and tribulations with her, because she's had various health issues, hasn't she?
Yeah, well, she's got an immune problem, I suppose, say. She catches everything that's going around, and this first one to get it, last one to get rid of it, and it's just, and you never know with her. She comes out, goes good, she comes out, she doesn't. It's just sort of, yeah, she's just so honest. Every day she's the same, so she's just, yeah, just awesome.
She's your pride and joy though, and she got a beautiful run today, and you also provided Andre Potama with his first ever Group 1 victory. That must also make you feel pretty proud.
Yeah, that's good. Like I'm quite happy to give him a go, like I did with, you know, Sean. So he's quite happy to drive them all at the workouts and stuff like that. He'll drive anything you put him on, and especially, you know, it's good having a driver that brings up and says, oh, how's Joe, and stuff like that. So, you know, that's what you want, rather than them just hopping on and off and stuff like that.
Amanda, tell me about your background and how many horses you're doing and why you're involved in this sport. What's it about harness racing that does it for you?
Well, I actually started off, I wanted to be a jockey, but that was never ever going to happen. So Mum said, what about harness racing? And so she got me a job doing boxes at James Stormont's in the morning. And yeah, he gave me a drive one day on the old GP and I got hooked. And it's just sort of like, I only do 3 or 4 at a time. I'm very, part-time. So it's just mixes up the day. But I just like the hands-on. I wouldn't want to do any more than that because I just like giving them all unique, treatment and stuff. So, yeah, it's good.
You just slipped in that you're a farrier. There wouldn't be too many female farriers in this country, let alone around the world.
No, there's not. But, I mean, it's what you put your mind to it. You can do it if you want to do it. It's not, it's just not a popular thing. But this is 2017 and girls can do anything, so yeah.
Of course they can, and you've put your mind to getting yourself a Group 1, so you can do anything.
Yeah. I didn't think it was going to happen, but it hasn't sunk in yet, but tomorrow I'll probably be like on cloud 9, so yeah.
I think you'll be on cloud 9 for a little bit longer than that. Congratulations to your wonderful achievement.
Thank you very much.
Lovely interview with Amanda Kitty. Well done to you, buddy. And look, I thought we'd struggle to beat the Ken Ford, Cherie Tomlinson Dominion Handicap for Fairy Tale of the Year, but this is the North Island version. Amanda Kitty, this is almost embarrassing. I can't remember having met her, and I go to so many Northern harness racing meetings. I'm sure people watching at home thought, I've heard the name, but who is she? Well, now you know. What a fairy tale, Greg. She's climbed to the mountaintop, and she's actually done it standing next to Natalie Rasmussen, which is even more incredible, and Andre Patama right there. What a good a feel-good story. It's made the horse as a broodmare going forward, but when you hear all the battles behind the scenes there, wonderful stuff.
Yeah, it really was. And gate speed's a beautiful thing. That's what she used to get herself at the right spot. And overall, I thought, a wonderful performance. A little bit on Party On, though. She came through that first up run and clearly Natalie was going to drive her positively. She copped a fair bit of pressure and, they ran a bit of time, as they should in a Group 1 race. But she was very, very brave here. She fought back solidly.
Bonnie Joan was good too.
Well, she didn't get round that last bend very well. You saw the ground she made up late in the piece. She was flashing home. But the advantage of being on the markers in a Group 1 race, we keep on talking about it, that proved to be the case once again.
I backed Party On and I was more than happy for my dividend to be halved. Look at the David and Goliath stuff there, because Party On's so big and Little Joe's Dream so small. This time last year, if you were talking about a horse who went on to win 2 Oaks races and had already won a Jules, dead heating with Joe's Dream, you'd think, well, how's that going to be happening? As I said, one of the stories of the harness racing year so far. And
Tony Grayling, of course, in behind this horse.
Who's trained a lot of horses over a lot of years. Trained Jack Morris back in the day, who of course went on to WA and became a very good horse. There's Ken Bricken enjoying the moment, and he of course owns Party On. But Party On was good. The story of the race was Amanda Kitty, Andre Patama and Joe's Dream, in a very rare moment after a Group 1, Greg, where the little people of harness racing stood in the spotlight. It was a lot of fun. What does it all mean going forward? Would they have beaten a dream about me? You know what? It doesn't matter.
It really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Very similar to the Dominion Handicap. It was a very special moment in harness racing. Beating drivers and beating horses in behind. Well, Bonnie Joan, if you backed it, you could feel a bit unlucky. But again, Greg, I think a lot of people go, look, I'm willing to cop this one.
Dexter, you got yourself into a nice position a lap out, but she just didn't handle that last bend.
Nah, she was a bit awkward on it last week, and we had a gear change, but it's still, just probably cost her, She really got in the straight though and got home good.
Yeah, a lot to like about that, and still plenty ahead for her.
Yeah, definitely. She's a lovely mare, and she's only just turned 4, so hopefully she's got a couple more years in her of top class mare racing.
John, that performance tonight vindicated what you said last week. She had no luck.
Yeah, dead right, Greg, and put in the race this week, and got a wee bit tired the last 50, but she's entitled to. Very happy overall.
What's ahead for her now? What are you focusing on in the next month?
Hopefully there's a nice race for her on the 31st here, and then head home for those mares races, and hopefully get a good draw in one of them.
So I caught up with those two boys. The other run that has to be mentioned, Michael, was Cease with Joy, and she came from a long way back. Yes, she was back on the inside, but any luck, she could have got a lot closer to them. And going forward, she lines up this Friday night at Alexandra Park, takes on Motown. She's quality as well.
Ironically, it's going to be a better form race to follow than it would have been had a Dream About Me or those horses been there, because in those circumstances, a lot of horses get beat 50, 60 metres. Because it was a very even bunch of horses, you're going to see a lot of horses in behind there who sneak into rating 70s and 68s and that sort of stuff. So good form race, excellent race, great story. There was no shearing to be done in the other pacing feature of the night, on a night full of features, but the other main one for the older horses. Vincent returned in the Franklin Cup. He had to run down his stablemate Heaven Rocks, who made himself, well, very easy to run down.
Heaven Rocks galloped in front. After him now is Titan Banner Vincent. Throw on the inside, Jack's Legend. AG's White Sox down the outside. Vincent dashes to the lead at the 100. He powers away. AG's White Sox flies at him late. Vincent's in. Last season's champion 3-year-old returns with a stunning win. AG's White Sox, and they were followed in by Titan Banner.
Natalie, he's back big time. He's breaking his own record. He's so thoroughbred-like, isn't he? He's just a beautiful horse.
Oh, he's just beautiful. Like, not only is he to look at, but he's just beautiful to do anything with, to drive him, just to handle him around the barn. He's just a pure gentleman. So, no, he's just a gorgeous horse. You wouldn't get a nicer one.
He burst to them at a couple of 100 metres out from the finish and looked like he was going to win comfortably, but he was probably entitled to get a little bit tired in his first run in such a long time.
Yeah, I just saw Heaven Rocks sort of getting out a little bit, and I just wanted to get around Dex in case Heaven Rocks run up the track into us, and I was just stepping off Dex's wheel, and I probably just went a little bit early, but there was a reason for it. And, you know, he was entitled to get a bit tired, but in saying that, he does sort of switch on and off a little bit.
Natalie, considering what Ultimate Machete's done, New Zealand Free for All, and the two feature 4-year-olds in WA, and this guy beat him New South Wales and in the New Zealand Derby, it's going to be hard to line them up until they line up against each other, isn't it?
Oh, it is, Greg. Look, I think they're both just lovely horses. Ultimate Machete, you know, he's just done nothing wrong this time, and he just seems to have finally filled into that big frame. And going off this, you know, this guy probably shouldn't have won fresh up against these horses, but that's just a testament to how good he is. So it'll be interesting.
Natalie, how much improvement would you expect over the next couple of weeks leading into the Auckland Cup?
Oh, I'd expect a lot. He is still a stallion, and he's quite a heavy big boy, as you can see. So I think 24th at Cambridge will tighten him up nice, and by Auckland Cup he should be pretty bang on.
Been another fantastic night for the All-Stars. Well done.
Thank you, Greg.
Very rare we see horses return fresh up in Group 2 races at this level and able to win. Greg, we'll discuss Vincent in a second because he heads to Cambridge on Sunday, then to the Cup. The start of the race and the frayed patience with Heaven Rocks. Here he is, he's the horse at the back, and that's him. Watch on the head on here, he gallops and runs in and it's all messy. He doesn't lose an awful lot of ground, the big hand for the big horse with the small brain. Here he goes, has a gallop.
He actually paced away.
Yeah, and then, so he doesn't lose too much because he's actually making ground on the gallop, and he settles there. He goes around. Tim Williams did nothing wrong on the horse. I think he drove him exactly how Natalie would have driven the horse. But at the top of the straight, he didn't want to be there. He galloped, he hangs in, he hangs out. There's no doubt about the talent, but it's getting very, very hard to back him for serious money, Greg, in serious races.
Well, the problem you've got with him, of course, is that he has to be driven that way. So he loops them, and you just keep on doing that. He ends up getting sick of doing that, doesn't he? Especially when he gets beat. Like, well, he got beat last week.
He looks sick of it.
Yeah. Well, he got beat last week on his mirror. You know, Star Gatteria got up in the inside and beat him, and then he just wanted to get out of it this week. He's just like, I don't want to be here.
Well, the bigger problem for him is this. He has an Auckland Cup around the corner where it's hard to back him to beat these horses. Then we get into a very sustained period of mobile racing. Cambridge over a mile. I'm doubtful that's his go. Hunter Cup, at the moment you couldn't take him to the Hunter Cup. Not to race Lazarus and not to race Lenny and a whole bunch of other horses. And then Menangle. And it's there and it sounds like a good idea, but when you're coming from last in a mile at 1:48 speed at Menangle, I'm starting to think they might have to leave him at home. They're great trainers, they'll make their decision, But gee, it'd be hard to say we're going to spend $20,000 or $30,000 to take him somewhere where he's going to be giving very good horses starts on tracks which are less suitable than some of the New Zealand tracks.
Well, I didn't really get an answer out of Natalie about who's better, Ultimate Machete, Vincent, because they haven't lined up against each other this time in. What about for you?
I think there's two things in play here. I love Vincent because I think he has better change-up speed. But he's an up major, whereas I think Bettor's Delights are more often reliable going forward.
Genuine.
Yeah, and Ultimate Machete's one of those. But I think Vincent might just be the better horse. But with that Bettor's Delight factor, maybe that's not going to pan out to be the case. But he's a bold, impressive-looking horse. Vincent this week goes to take on Star Galleria at Cambridge in the 4- and 5-year-old futurity. If he wins there, or Star Galleria wins there, they're qualified for the Chariots of Fire on Miracle Mile Night. Then we have Jack's Legend, who's going to go after the Auckland Cup to Sydney to try and qualify there. And Ultimate Machete, who goes to the Ballarat Cup, will try and qualify in the Bonanza on Hunter Cup night. We could have 3 or 4 really big chances in that race. And that could be the first time this season Ultimate Machete races Vincent. That's the Chariots of Fire in Sydney. Beaten drivers, there'd be a few here who'd be pretty happy after this race because some good performances and also some horses who were probably a little bit short heading into that Auckland Cup on December 31.
Ricky, just how much benefit will he derive out of his first look at the park?
Well, I hope a lot, Greg, really. We all know he's got the ability, but he's a bit of a dick and he got a bit lost tonight, to be fair, but, you know, he had to be wrapped with the way he went.
He's got really close to Vincent late in the piece. Was it any stage you thought you might be able to pick him up?
Well, halfway down he was gaining on him, but I mean, probably was only going to get second, but I was probably thinking ahead a bit. But, you know, he kept coming, that was a good thing.
It vindicates well and truly Greg and Nina's thoughts on this horse and bringing him up for this carnival, and you've always rated him.
Yeah, no, he's a great pacer. Like, they went 320, he didn't feel like they were going 320, so that's always a good sign, isn't it?
He gets himself in the perfect position and then he just says, I don't want to be part of this anymore.
Yeah, that's right, Greg. That's one thing we keep intact. That was a record. I think it's 0-4 now, so he's winning that battle. But yeah, disappointing. Like you say, he's in places he's putting it together, and then in places he's letting himself down when you know, he's capable of putting the runs on the board. So yeah, look back to the drawing board. But yeah, hopefully it's Mark or Natalie's problem next time.
The other horse who disappointed there for punters, but probably fitness-wise, was Jack's Legend.
Well, Barry clearly said going into the race that they put him in there rather than go to a trial. He needed a hard hit out before the Auckland Cup. So, yeah, Zach wasn't entirely disappointed. He said he expected him to blow out, and that's exactly what happened. He hadn't had a run since Cup time, of course.
When you look at the Auckland Cup, and the market, of course, now sees Vincent around the $1.65 market, it's hard to make a case he'll get beat, and he had 3 trials going into this, Vincent, so 3 trials, 2 races, he should be fit. The horse who stands out as the big improver will be off the front, have a great driver, and will cop the 2 miles is Titan Banner. His last mile last Friday was very similar to Vincent. He's better off in the handicaps. All of a sudden, he becomes the danger for him.
Yeah, and he went great. He went a terrific race there too, as did AG's White Sox, and he's a horse that's going to progress to be a player in all of these races.
As we said a couple of weeks ago, there's a lot of Mossdale Connor about him.
There is.
And he's tracking very similarly through it. If he ran a place in an Auckland Cup, I don't think anybody would be stunned.
But I think it's a really interesting race. Yes, Vincent deserves to be a dominant favourite, but I'm not totally convinced he's just over the line. It's still an interesting race.
What about Vincent Star Galleria at Cambridge on Friday? Would you give Star Galleria, considering he ran past Heaven Rocks, any chance? Or, with Heaven Rocks going that poorly this week, do you go, well, maybe that wasn't as good as I thought it was the week before?
I think he's... it's not fair to say he's an opportunist, Star Galleria, because he's a very good horse. But if he gets the right run at Cambridge, we know how lethal, particularly the passing lane, can be there. I still think Vincent might outpoint him, but barrier draws, or, you know, the way the race is run is going to be absolutely crucial to his chances of beating Vincent.
They were the older horses, the fairy tale, and of course the return of some great horses last week at Alexandra Park. Plenty more action to look at there after this very short break here on the Box Seat. Hope you're enjoying your Wednesday night with us.
back into your box seat, brought to you in association with Sweetloo, standing at Woodlands. Trotting time it is. It's unfair to call Temporale an opportunist. Maybe he was to win the Rowe Cup, but he's developing into a serious Grand Circuit horse, and he proved it again last Friday night.
29.4. Heads for home, Lamond, and everybody knows the almighty Johnson. Temporale, speeding spur down the outside. It's Lamond. Temporale comes strongly. Lamond and Temporale, speeding spur. Here he comes, speeding spur after Temporale and the almighty Johnson. Temporale, speeding spur, couldn't get him. Temporale, the Rowe Cup winner's in. What a return by Speeding Spur. He tried to lift and lift hard to the urgings of the crowd. He goes down a half ahead.
If you look up the word professional in the dictionary, it wouldn't surprise me if this horse, Temporale's named somewhere beside that.
Yeah, no, he just kept stepping up, Greg. Like, he was a bit of a handful earlier on, and he just got better and better. His manners have got great, and he's such a relaxed racehorse now compared to what he was when he was a young fella, but that's the way it goes, yeah.
Is that going to Australia thing? It's just settled him right down. He's so versatile.
Yeah, all of that, you know, and just growing up himself too. He just needed the time to sort of grow up in his mind as well as his body.
He was fantastic last week. He got a beautiful run tonight. Where are your confidence levels going forward, of course, to New Year's Eve? Because he's racing so well that he's got to be a great chance in the national trot.
Yeah, certainly is. Josh's horse has gone terrific, you know, first up for a long time, and he's obviously going to take a lot of benefit from the run too. But yeah, if it's a good solid run race, it'd probably even suit us better, you know. But yeah, Lamond was probably unlucky having a gallop when he did.
You've won this race for the 7th time, which is a remarkable record in itself, and goes back over a decent 20 years. So it's been a race you've nearly owned.
Yeah. Well, I've driven some lovely trotters over the years, as you know. You know, it's good having a share in one of them.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to you, Tony. Well done.
Thanks very much, Greg.
Yeah, another very professional performance from him, but there was plenty to like him behind. Of course, we had Speeding Spur. We had Lamond not doing it right. The Aussie Kai Valley Blur made up a lot of ground, and everybody knows wasn't suited to the race conditions drawn the outside and sitting parked.
Yeah, there was enough there to suggest the national trot's going to be a very good race, but it's a funny thing, Temporale. He's only had 3 or 4 starts as a 5-year-old. He's just starting his career, and he's already won this race, which is a Group 2, and of course a Group 1 in the Rowe Cup. He's still developing. He's quite a big horse now. That shot doesn't probably show it because he races with the head down a touch. We'll get to Speeding Spur later. He's a very fluent horse. He seems to be good off the gate. He seems to do a lot of things right. Sort of horse, Greg, if he ended up winning 25 races, you wouldn't be stunned. Can go to Australia. He's raced there before, as you mentioned in the interview. Lots of pluses. Very hard to find a negative for him. Tony did the right thing missing the New Zealand Cup Carnival because there's a whole heap of races going through to the Rowe Cup, and then he gets to go again. If he stays sound, he's going to be a major player in some big races for a long time. Yeah, great return from Speeding Spur, of course. Was that Heaven Rocks of the trotting game? Lamond, wasn't it? Very similar. I mean, Lamond's so talented. And again, he's only 5, so there's a lot of room to move there. But when you see him and Temporale were so even at 3, Temporale seems to have mentally moved on a bit more than Lamond. I almost called him Heaven Rocks. But look, there's still work to be done there. Now, at this stage, we think there's a good chance Temporale and Lamond may both miss the Cambridge race this Sunday. But before we talk about that, let's see what the drivers made of their beaten performances behind Temporale.
Josh, that's a magnificent racetrack return.
Yeah, it was. Couldn't ask for much better. He just didn't stop giving in the whole way down, and he did get tired the last bit, but he's entitled to, and we sort of knew that could probably happen with the barrier draw, but yeah, we couldn't be happier.
Temporale probably just had race fitness on his side. That must give you great confidence going forward to the national trot.
Oh, it does, you know. He's a good horse himself, though, Temporale, and you know, the whole field was, to be fair, we knew it wasn't going to be easy tonight, but look, we've got a bigger picture as well coming up, and hopefully all going well, we can get to Australia all spot on. So.
Ricky, it's not really his go in life sitting park, but he seemed to relax out there, and he was right in it till the top of the straight.
Yeah, I was wrapped with him, Greg. It's not really his go, like you said, but you know, didn't have too many options. 6 off the second row, we're going to end up last, so Greg wanted me to go forward and sat parked, and he probably over-raced a wee bit for him, but I mean, he still felt good, and I mean, with the horse galloping the front straight probably cost him force, so that would have been better.
He is so competitive, though, when he does get the right sort of run, he can really finish it off, so there's plenty to like about tonight's performance.
Oh, definitely Greg, yeah, no, he's right up with him, there's no doubt about that.
Well, there's a flashing light on the top of your helmet there, Tim.
Yeah, that's right. He certainly found the line good once we cleared a bit of traffic, but you look, we had a pretty checkered run from probably the 600, so he's done well to balance up once he got around the last bend and really hit the line well.
Having already been a winner here at Alexandra Park in his only previous appearance, must give you some confidence going forward to the Group 1.
Oh, for sure. He felt super the further we went tonight, and Brent's of the opinion, further distance in following weeks is going to be right up his alley. So, it's a great step forward this week.
Dexter, that can't have been a whole lot of fun for you?
No, it wasn't. He just couldn't hold his place early. He got pushed down the fence, so climbing over top of them the whole way. He felt terrific and just no luck. So, yeah, we'll just forget about that one and look forward to Cambridge and then back here on the 31st.
Yeah, so you take out of that Bordeaux, if he draws the front row in either of those races, he'll be very hard to beat. I didn't catch up with young Tony Cameron. He's driving well. I know he drew 1 there with the Almighty Johnson. It was a good training performance from Tony to run 1-3, but yeah, good on the young fella picking up another group
about
placing.
A year ago, I think he just started to really develop as a driver, and Tony Herlihy has put him on a lot of horses.
He has.
And it's a chance to drive consistently against very good horse people, and you get more confidence. So, look, he's done a good job, Tony Cameron. There's a group placing for him, and you would leave him on for the Group 1, one would think, for the National Trot. The National Trot's a funny thing because the market's open, we'll look at that now, but it could change dramatically from what we see at Cambridge. I think Speeding Spur's the horse to beat in everything going forward, but Temporale and to a lesser extent Le Monde could still have those big improvement curves, but gee, was good Speeding Spur, fresh up since March. He should be better. He had a tough run. If he draws to lead in the National Trot, so this will be a start away from him, so 2 starts down the track. If he draws to lead, Greg, he'll be $1.40.
The Lily runner, Kai Valley Blue, made up a lot of ground. We know he came to the Cup Carnival and was able to place there. So, he's proven that at this level, he's more than competitive.
The harder they go, the better it suits him. And bizarrely, Bordeaux's a horse who could help him. But if it's an easy Speeding Spur lead type of race, that's not his go. He likes it when they go really, really hard. The horse in the market there who's way, way too short, it's the Foot Tapper, was just dreadful the other day. Just terrible. Looked like he hadn't travelled or just whatever. He just didn't look happy.
They did run some time off the front, but he
wasn't making ground. He was actually stopping, going the other way. I know you like one on the market.
Yeah, here's your Christmas present.
For a place.
Here it is.
Grego's Christmas present.
There you go.
Father
$6.20.
Yeah.
Everybody knows. Placed in the trotting free-for-all on Cup Day behind Great Things Happens. Won the Green Mile. Sat parked in that race. Didn't suit him. Look, he might need the right sort of run and a barrier draw and all those sorts of things, but he's got the right driver on, he's in the right stable, that'll do me.
Just when you thought Santa had a big grey beard, he has actually short grey hair. Talking about Christmas presents, this was an awesome one for the Alabar Syndicate. Chase Auckland went to their race, the Alabar Classic, and he's by their sire in Auckland Reactor, and he's owned by their syndicate. This could not have gone any better. A different type of fairy tale, but an excellent one here. And I tell you what, Gregory, it wasn't a mucking around race.
No, it wasn't at all. Many, and me included, thought they might settle an Indian file, but David Butcher here decided, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not happy just to sit through the fence. I'm going to go and have a look at Chase Auckland. Have a look. Well, he had more than one look. Here's the first part of King of Swing having a look at Chase Auckland. It's down the back straight, and about here you can see Butch goes, right, I need to let Natalie know that I'm here. So he does that, and I thought, OK, he's had a look for the lead, but he kept pressing on. Now, it went through the stewards. They did ask the question about his driving tactics, and here they're getting serious. Lead time, Michael, of about 40 it was, which is about as good as they go at Alexandra Park in any race. And you think here, OK, he might back off a wee bit, but he didn't back off. He kept the pressure on. It was a good barometer to find out whether Chase Auckland could cop the pressure, because sitting in the trail was all you need is faith. And he is no slouch at all. He does get very close in the end. Cole Pecker struggling to hold the back of King of Swing gives you a good idea, a good indication of how quickly they were going.
I have absolutely no problems with David Butcher's drive. He's a good enough driver and a smart enough driver to think, OK, my horse is a genuine Group 1 horse. Last time I dawdled through a race in the Sire Stakes, or, you know, dawdled enough to give Chase Auckland an easy run on my back. He out-sprinted me. So let's see how tough this horse is. And he's by Auckland Reactor, who's an unproven sire yet. He's got the right here to do this. He's always been a big advocate for aggressive driving in races. In Australia, they wouldn't think twice about it. He gave his horses chance, it wasn't good enough. Had he pulled back at any stage, he just would have been sitting parked. There was nowhere else for him to go. His run wasn't going to get any easier. David rolled the dice. He was proven wrong. And let's face it,
it's not the Lincoln Farms way of doing things either. Dropping 3 the fence and running second or third, conceding is not their go.
And 3 the fence wasn't even there.
No.
So he was going to sit parked regardless. Now, at this stage, King of Swing, for the first time in his career, is going to run out of the money. Chase Auckland, who's been very game, now is a sitting duck for the stablemate. But he might be a very, very good horse, and round about here, he needed to be.
All you need is faith is coming hard. 100 to go, Chase Auckland. All you need is faith comes strongly. Chase Auckland, all you need is faith. Chase Auckland will just remain unbeaten. Tough win in 2:36.4.
Yeah, that was a terrific performance from Chase Auckland. He's only had the half a dozen races, as we know, but he was magnificent. You see there Natalie's comments after the race. Yeah, she wanted to find out whether he was brave. Well, she got that, and no better example.
And they've done it before too. Natalie's gone out in a sire stakes when Star Galleria led last year and just savaged him on Ultimate Machete. Savaged him and beat him up. Well, this time it didn't work for David Butcher, but if you're willing to savage horses, you've got to be willing to cop the savage. There'll be no complaints from Nat. She's not a baby. She's going to say, that's hard racing, that's how we do it in Aussie, that's how we like to do it. She used to do it on Blacks Are Fake all the time. Didn't work, but yeah, I'm fully supportive of the fact that you can't just keep giving the All-Stars races. And they don't have any right to be in front and get any more respect than anybody else. If David Butcher attacked it on a 100 to 1 chance, then he's kidding himself. When you attack on the second favourite, you've got every right to do so. How good is Chase Auckland? I have no idea, but I've got a funny feeling he's very, very good. That syndicate, they were good people, they were fun people, they loved their horse, they had their hats on. That's what harness racing needs. There was no sort of, you know, there was no, oh, we showed them. It was genuine happiness with that horse. I thought thrilled for Graham Henley. Alabar's had some tough times. They've had to compete against a juggernaut of a horse in Bettor's Delight. This horse needed, we said this about a year and a half ago, he needed a horse to legitimise him. And he's got one. He had a lot of 2-year-old winners last year in Australia, Auckland Reactor. He's got a real chance here. He's now going to be a horse where they go to the sales and people go, rather than Auckland Reactor, they'll go, yeah, okay, I could cop one of those.
Yeah, all you need is faith, good, spank him, the Devil's Own, boom, 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 the fence. When they're going that speed, they weren't going to come wide, were they?
What's remarkable is ending last season, we thought the Devil's Own and then Spankin was sort of level, and we really liked both of them, as you would, but Chase Auckland's just gone past them. You can't make any case for them beating Chase Auckland on a level playing field at the moment. So they're all going to head to the Sales Series pace, or most of them Sales Series pace on the 31st. Then Mark and Natalie need to sit down and work out Victoria Derby, New South Wales Derby, does that cross over, who goes where, and Northern Derby in that mix. They've got a lot of ammo. The question's going to be where they fire them
Chase Auckland, Ashley Lopez, who's not in the Sales Series or Sires. All you need is faith, Spankham, Anthem, Major Shard, and I probably missed a couple.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they've got the bulk of them. King of Swing, willing to forgive for obvious reasons, and he's a horse who could go back to Australia. But that Sales Series is going to be, it always is a great race. It's his to lose, Chase Auckland. In saying that, he has had the rails or the marker pegs in the majority of
big ones.
All the races in his career.
Yes.
The majority. You put him on the second line, and do you want to be taking skinny odds? He's the best 3-year-old in the country at the moment. But if you put him on the second line, and all you need is faith in it, barrier 1 or 2, would the gap be that big? Would even King of Swing at 1 or 2? So I still think there's a few chapters to be written in this 3-year-old bunch, but at the moment, I just feel good for Alabar. They deserve this after the support they gave Auckland Reactor and that syndicate. As I said, when they created the syndicate, Grego, you couldn't have imagined they could get this horse for their own sire.
No, a little bit like, goes back to Mark Purdon when he had Elvicolo and Jack Cade popped in.
Yep.
You know, like it's uncanny how the parallels.
Although subsequently how Alvacolo went.
I hope I'm not going down that path. You mentioned before Better's Delight though, Better Joy. Well, hasn't she been at Alexandra Park? Here she is in the ladyship. Again, coming wide at Alexandra Park, and she just dashed to the lead here in the Peter Brecken Memorial Caduceus Club, and she was too good.
To the outside with Something About Mary, Better Joy Almac, Better Tricks is dashing, Something About Mary, Better Joy, Better Tricks come strongly, Better Joy, Better Tricks on the outside, Better Joy, Better Tricks, Better Joy. Better Joy Double D, Better Tricks Nathan Purden tried very hard, goes down a slender margin, and they were followed Something About Mary.
And this outstanding filly, Better Joy, comes back at the head of the field. We saw last week just what sort of form we were likely to see in over the next month, Dexter, and she's produced it again.
Yeah, Muzz, who's up here looking after the team, and Crean said that she'd really come on from her race last week. So, you know, expecting a great run, and the way that the run worked out, it was perfect.
It couldn't have worked out any better. Plenty of speed up front. They run about 240 here, and she was sitting in the 1-1. She went to the lead very quickly, but the sliding blinds may not have been an addition that would have been working tonight.
Yeah, I don't know if I got beat. I don't know what Greg would have done to me, Greg, because I put them on after last week, and she just got wandering on me with them. So, yeah, no, we'll take them back off, and she was actually doing it quite easy, just sort of switched off at the end, but you know, she's got that speed she showed last week, and you know, that first 100 metres in the straight she showed again tonight, and just that last bit.
Her record here at Alexandra Park, of course, winning the Young Guns, puts her in good stead going towards the Sires final on New Year's Eve. Yeah,
she's obviously probably had more runs here than anywhere else, and she's won some good races here, Greg. So, yeah, obviously look forward to New Year's now, and hopefully she can get a three-peat up here.
Your first win in the ladyship, congratulations.
Thanks a lot, Greg.
And of course, Cran's first win in that race as well. A couple of things to come out of it. Dizzy Miss Lizzie clearly underperformed. Spoke to Nigel McGrath about that. Now, we had that problem on the motorway where horses got stuck on there. I think she was in the float for 3.5 hours. She came off the float in a muck lather and raced accordingly.
So ran her race.
I'm prepared to forgive her. Yeah. Tell you a horse that really impressed me out of that. Better Tricks was good in second, but something about Mary. I reckon she's got a good win in there somewhere.
Look, they're a very even bunch. I think this is a crop which is very much in a state of flux. I've got no idea where Almac is. I just don't know. Dizzy Miss Lizzie, willing to forgive the motorway thing and that Auckland traffic thing. Welcome to Auckland if you're a Cantab on that front. Even Better Joy, she won, but there's a fair bit of head going up and down there. And I don't know. I'm not convinced about this crop. Don't get me wrong. They will run wicked times all year. But if somebody said to me, pick the winner of the Northern Oaks right now, absolutely no idea. Wouldn't surprise me if it was a horse in that race. Wouldn't surprise me if it was a horse who's somewhere else at the moment. It's just a very even crop, and there's no dominant horse, and that's good. It's good fun. I think I said to you about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I actually said it last year with this crop, I wouldn't be surprised if the big races in last year's 2-year-old crop, which is now the 3-year-old crop, get divided up between 5 or 6 different horses.
Yeah.
It's just that sort of bunch. But at the moment, Better Joy's got the advantage, but there wasn't enough in that to suggest to me that there's any dominant horse.
But that's cool, because we'll go to the 31st and we'll go, well, gee, anything could happen here, which is great.
But, hey, and then there's an absolute smorgasbord after that. There's Oaks races all over the show, and Jules and Neville fillies finals and stuff. What's always exciting, buddy, is when the 2-year-olds come out. Love seeing the 2-year-olds come out, and you start to think, what does all this mean, and how good are these, and the new sires are on board. So first realistic 2-year-old race of the season came up with the Young Guns series starting. It's funny, it's become a great series, and Brent Mangos, we see these colours more often than we used to now at Alexandra Park. They're the Howlett colours from WA, and G Mango got this one inch right, not only before the race, but the drive.
Gun, Better Get a Lover, Pembroke Charlie deep on the HR Fiskin passing lane, still it is Smart Fortune giving plenty. Better Get a Lover, Stun Gun, they can't get Smart Fortune. Smart Son of Art Major, he's in 2:08 the time. Better Get a Lover.
Yeah, 2:08. I think Brent Mangos, daylight robbery there. He stole that home in 27 seconds. It very much was like the trials that we've seen at the park over the last couple of weeks, but credit to him. He did say afterwards the main thing that stood out for him was the price this horse paid, because it was unbeaten.
They opened it at $18. The bookies, I believe, I didn't bet into the race, but look, there's a lot to like about the win, but Mango just drove it inch perfectly every season. Cole Picker last year and Jack Mack, who went on to WA, Mango produces a good 2-year-old. He's just very, very good at it. Now, that's two things. Obviously, he can train, but secondly, he must have a very good eye for going to the sales. And
hey, speaking of that, Michael,
not everybody has. A sales book?
No, a publication that's been produced by the breeders. Oh. And Brent Mangos is in here with the Howletts talking about the way they go about their business, and well done to them.
Well,
there's a lot of really good stuff in there.
To save me reading it, can you give me a 20-second synopsis? How do they go about it?
Oh, look, basically they go pedigree first and type, and there's a few other trainers and a few trainers that you wouldn't necessarily think yearling sales and buying horses, so it's worth getting that. Go to the Breeders' Association, get them to send you one out. Well done to the team there, because there's a whole lot of good stuff in there, talking about horses that have been purchased in the past and how much. You take the best example is Better Cover Lover, who they only paid $12,000 for, and leading into the yearling sales, I thought it was pretty well done.
It's one of the most under-celebrated skills in racing, because you can be a great trainer, but if you pick bad horses at the sales, they can only go so far. So I think Brent must have a really good eye, and as must the Howletts. And I'm not sure what that race means the other night in the grand scheme of things. As it turns out, over the course of history, the first heat of the Young Guns has actually been quite a good race. A lot of very good horses have raced it and won it in the past.
Hey, the other thing about the race was running it later at night. Smart move by Auckland, because they had the issues with the shadows in the past, so that took that out of play. Stun Gun was quite good. Better Get a Lover was okay as well, but sort of resented going up the passing lane. So, like you say, I'm not too sure what to take out of that.
Just talking about Auckland, interesting thing, they raced Friday and Saturday, and some people here will go, well, Saturday was garbage, it was only small fields and blah. They can say whatever they want. Here's the reality. Here's the money. In the last 6 weeks, Alexandra Park have had 12,000 hospitality bookings. So they raced Friday and Saturday. On Friday, they turned over $1.2 million. On Saturday, they turned over $480,000. The money that goes back to the industry is more or less the same, because if you were selling 2,000 hospitality packages a week, and say they're $50 profit margin in each, I'm making that figure up, but it's realistic. There's $100,000 a week goes to Alexandra Park. That money comes back to you at home, to stable hands, to truck drivers, to farriers like Amanda Kitty. So there's people who say, oh, I don't like it, small fields. The economics of racing at the moment, particularly in Auckland, and you see it with the Christmas at the races around the country, but Auckland's a far bigger place. You can put these meetings on back to back, Greg, and it is enormous reserves of free money coming to this industry by selling wine and ham and beer and things which have nothing to do with racing. So it may not make everybody comfortable having small fields on a Saturday night. I think Saturday night harness racing largely is rubbish. But at this time of the year, it makes a lot of money for our industry.
Tell us what you really think.
Well, no, you know why? Because punter fatigue kicks in. On a Saturday night,
it does, yeah.
You're too stuffed after watching the good gallops to watch the trots half the time. But it doesn't matter if you're selling 100 grand's worth of champagne to people.
Well, and I was lucky enough to be at Addington on Saturday night to see this.
Would it have been a big crowd too?
Well, it was. They had their hospitality packages.
I think the racing was slightly better there.
It was. This was. They went 3:12. Harriet of Mott smashing the record. Habibti set it, of course, in the Derby that she was able to win. 3:12. They went a lead time here, Michael, of 1:12, which is pacing speed. So they had to run home in a couple of minutes. But, gee, this was a good performance, and she's a good mare.
There's no doubt she's a good mare, and she would clearly be a danger in any trotting race in Australasia, but I think they're doing the right thing. They're staying home with her. They're saying, let's go to Omakal and places like that, and there's free-for-alls.
This is down the back straight, Michael, and the race just changed complexion incredibly.
She's trotting squarely. She looks a happy horse. So not bringing her to the national trot at a time when the road trip is really difficult is a smart move, and sometimes that patience might be enough, Greg, to win a New Zealand Trotting Championship or a Rowe Cup. So they're doing the right thing with her, but you get the feeling we're still a year away from seeing the best of her. And if she can trot national records now, Greg, in a year's time, she might have a Dominion handicap next to her. No, Dominion, as it's called, next to her.
Alderbeck and Monty Python just keep going good races. So Phil Williamson chasing them down. 11 wins now for Harriet of Mott. Just before we go to the break, congratulations to Des Baines. Trained, I think it's his first treble. Got a minute. Courts and Better Buy It, who they've had all sorts of problems with, all driven by a good friend of ours, Alan Beck. Great to see him saluting on 3 occasions.
Good on you, Des, and good
well.
on you, Becky. And yeah, that's a hell of a thing. He wouldn't have that many horses at work, would he?
No, but he was the man, of course, who broke in and gated up the mighty young Quinn. Short break for us. When we return, we've got plenty of things going on for you leading into Christmas racing.
Australasian Junior Drivers' Championships is one of the highlights of any young driver's career, and the Kiwis did us proud last week in Queensland. Dylan Ferguson almost won the thing, actually beaten in a photo finish by Narissa McMullen. Grego, 3 very talented young drivers, and look, okay, seconds and thirds and fifths sort of things, but very good from Kimberly, Cherie and Dylan. Yeah, Dylan was second, had a chance to win it going into the last. He drew inside back row and didn't get much of a go until late, so well done to him. I think Kim was 5th and Cherie was 6th, so they were right in the mix, and as Dylan said in his article, lifelong friends, had a great week on and off the track. That's what it's all about. Anybody who's ever competed in it has come out of it a better driver, and they make mates who, as you said, are very valuable. Look, Todd McCarthy was in there. Like, he's a guy who drove in the Inter-Dominion final a week earlier. Talking about Inter-Dominions, see if you can pick this old Inter-Dominion champ, not the human one standing up, it's the one next to him. And Grego, one of the greats of all time. Who's that you're giving a rub to? Yeah, Lyle Creek. Graham Bruton rang me up, said, I'm coming down to Canterbury, any chance we could go out and see the old bloke? So where is that? So that is on the old property where Tim Butt used to train. So still owned by Karen Prendergast, I understand, and young Chris Butt goes around there every time. That's not Vulcan, I don't think, in the background, but he's in the same paddock as him. So all of those Group 1s, yeah, together, must have a good old yarn, those two. So he looked great. He's about 23, 24. Broody just wanted to catch up with his old mate, and he pricked his ears when he got there, and he had a good friend of his, Tim William Whelan's there too, and yeah, it was a really cool moment. One of my favourites of all time. If you go to my house, and you've been there plenty of times, I've got no harness racing memorabilia. All the stuff I've collected over the years, I don't keep out in public. I've got 2 photographs on my wall in my office. One's of a horse called Spicy, I had a share in. The other one's of me driving Lyle Creek in Fast Work. It's the coolest feeling I had one day. Tim and Ant said, have a spin on him, drove him in Fast Work, and Karen took a photograph with the phone, and there's a big trail of dust behind us, and it's still one of the coolest moments I've been involved in harness racing. He's a horse I think all of us will always love, and glad to hear he's looking so good, and he's in great nick. Yep, it was awesome to catch up with him. What about racing around the country in the next week for you? Well, isn't there a heap of that? We've got Forbury Park, $25,000 Fast Track Insurance Pick 6, 5:57 the start time for there. Addington Raceway, afternoon start. Take note of that, 6 minutes past 3. Bonus quaddie with Alexandra Park of $10,000. They kick off at 6:26, so it'll be the latter part of the Addington program, and a $25,000 Fast Track Insurance Pick 6 there. Further south, Winton will be there for 11 races on Saturday, 12:10. It includes the Otata Foursquare Supermarket Waireo Cup. There's a mouthful. Do they still have Foursquare Supermarkets? There you go, they do. Awesome. $22,000 Ashburton Cup, of course, changed to Ashburton, no longer on Boxing Day. This is Christmas Eve, 1:02 the start time there, so a twilight affair there. More about that in a moment. Cambridge, massive night there. Jardine Bloodstock Group 2, 4 and 5-year-old Futurity, and the Group 2, Group 1 Turf Bar, Trotters Flying Mile, $50,000 for each of those. Westport, it's Cup Day there. Light on nominations for that. Very surprising for mine. $20,000 Pulse Energy Westport Cup. Both Blair Orange and Dexter Dunn will be there on the coast. It allows them to go there now that Ashburton is on, of course, Christmas Eve. $15,000 Gore Cup in between the 2 days at Westport. 10 races there at 3 minutes past 2. Wow, there's a fair bit of racing there. Looking at that. Look, the key factor is this: don't try and bet every race. Unless you're a $2 punter, don't try and bet every race. Pick your targets, try and pick your 3 or 4 you want to have a crack on the day. We'll have heaps of preview shows and try and give you the best indication we can. hrnz.co.nz is the place to go. On the West Coast circuit, horses for courses, absolutely crucial. All right, by the way, I think the Hot Holiday Drivers is coming back. Hope so. Which will be good, because how would you go? Blair, versus Dexter.
Well,
driving at a lot of the same race.
Yeah, I reckon Ricky May might be half a chance too, because I understand 21 nominations by Greg and Nima Hope for the coast. Whether they take all of those,
that's about 3 truckloads. What did you found for us?
Yeah, let's find a couple of winners for you. Addington and Auckland on Friday night. I reckon you can multi these two up. Not a Benny Denario. Gee, this horse was impressive down south, trained by the Schmeals and the Simon colours there. Outstanding win here, ran away and hid, and I think it can do that again, so a very big chance at Addington Raceway.
So it's an afternoon twilighty type meeting?
That's right, starts at 3 o'clock. Actually, if you go back about 5 years, this is when we had one of those earthquake things and we had to call the whole meeting off, so touch wood, that won't be part of that scenario. Auckland, really smart horse, 888.
He's a good horse.
He's a good horse. He got beaten last time.
Behind the 2 Purden Rasmussen horses. And look, it's before that he had looked really good. These are good horses inside him. These are Group 1 horses inside him. And he's had to sit parked here. He's been very, very good. He's got a tough draw this week at the park on Friday night, but gee, he didn't give up here. He wanted to be part of the fight.
Yep, he's a very good horse, and we look forward to seeing him there. He'll be short, but he's drawn the outside the gate. But I really...
barrier draws often, they aren't short at the park. You might get close to even money on the tote, maybe.
All right, Christmas time it is, of course, and it is around sales time. On next week's show, I've caught up with a profile with Peter Lagan about things around Christmas.
Well, the sales are changing, aren't they?
Well, they are.
They're doing them
there's a significant change, particularly in Canterbury, because they'll sell the trotters. All of the parades will be held on the first day, but the trotters will be solely sold on the first day. Then they have the big premier sale.
Show them the catalogue.
Here's a catalogue.
Here's a catalogue.
Here it is. So you get to standardbred.com. It is standardbred.co.nz.
I went there last
owners
year
of the years,
and I said, there's no chance I'm going to buy a horse, and I bought one. I actually went to the trials last week. I looked at a horse. Went to the trials out of the book last year. On the subject of horses they sold there, Lazarus was a horse who was sold at the sales. You've probably heard of him. Now, he's not racing on the 29th at Gloucester Park. That's not going to be happening. Where he is racing is, we know he's heading to the big races on the 12th and the 19th. That's the Freo Cup and the WA Cup. Spoke to Mark Purdon this morning. He's going to the 5th. So he's going to race 3 Fridays in a row. Now, Mark's...
how's he getting on with his appeal?
Well, nothing's happened. So they haven't actually heard his appeal against his suspension, and obviously no stay of proceedings, so he can't drive. Now, it's Christmas very shortly, and you wouldn't imagine they're going to hear it between Christmas and New Year. They might, but you wouldn't imagine it. They've got a QC over there, so Mark doesn't go back to WA for the hearing. He's optimistic he can get a reduction in time to get him back for the Auckland Cup. I'm not so sure that's going to work. This was the timings, Greg. Now, he'll know more by the end of this week. I would suggest it could be a case of not coming back. He can still go to Perth to drive Laz on the 5th. So Lazarus, for what it's worth, 5th, 12th, 19, WA, then the 3rd of February, Hunter Cup, then off to Menangle. So 6 races in the first 2 months of the season for our newly crowned Inter-Dominion champion.
Hey, speaking of Australia, a horse that's flying over there at the moment is Moonrock. He ran home in sensational fashion the other day. Now, this is no mean feat, being able to run down Emma Stewart's charge, A Major Secret. That's him coming wide on the track, Anthony Butt doing the driving, and his performance since going over there, well, he's won 5 of his last 8, and gee, it was good.
By Moonrock. Moonrock hit the lead from Major Secret. That's a big win. Moonrock has beaten Major Secret. Mercedes dashed up.
He keeps running home in sub 55. So he's in a bunch of horses who are just moderate free-for-allers. But he's already been to a New Zealand Cup. That was about 13 months ago. I think he's going to turn up in a Ballarat Cup. I don't think he can win a Ballarat Cup, but I think he can win one of those, a huge array of country cups going on around there. Just talking about the Butt brothers, because Anthony drove that one. Field Marshal had a slight setback, not going to race before Christmas, could go to the Bendigo Cup early January. So, yeah, Moonrock's making his way to the cusp of those good races. But as we know, getting to the cusp and winning those good races, once all the Vincents and the Ultimate Machete start to come through at that second level, is going to be awfully tough.
Michael, your favourite part of the show is about to happen here. It's selection time.
I've had enough of this. Here's what's happened the last... No, don't laugh.
Well, I am laughing.
I'm more professional. The last 3 weeks, I've picked Motown, I got checked and lost 80 metres. Heaven Rocks broke the national record by a second and a half and got beat. And last week, they picked Sartorius in a trotting race and it paced away. So I'm actually going to complain to Edward Brunel and the Integrity Committee. I think you're jacking this up because you tipped Ocean Ridge last week and won and paid $1.45. You have now 3 in front.
That's a long,
I'm not going to take this line down. I'm furious. Somebody came up to me at the Gallops the other day and said, well, the owner should complain when you pick it for pick of the week now because you've got 3 beaten in a row, which is actually quite funny. But I'm determined I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm picking the same horse as last week, Sartorius, because surely it can't pace away again in a trotting race. And I'm going to ring that integrity hotline because there's something dodgy going on here. I'm sure of this.
I'm going with Sounds Better. Again, I'm giving you an opportunity. This is a maiden going to Addington on the grit for the first time.
It doesn't matter what happens.
Trained by the O'Reillys.
Paces away again.
Kerry.
I'm sick of it.
Leo. Yeah. Anyway,
probably should win.
That's the way we're going this week.
There's something suspicious going on.
Yeah, for sure. Mind you, it goes against all of your theories. I think the week before, 4 weeks ago, you picked a horse in a junior drivers race.
Well, I hate standing start races, I really do.
Yeah, well, you keep going there. Anyway.
So what's the one horse over that whole Christmas period where you think to yourself, I want to back this? Is it everybody knows in the National Trot? Is that your go?
That's my go for a place. Yep. $6 odd, I'll guarantee you it won't start at that.
What about the West Coast circuit? Is there one on the West Coast circuit you've got your
Westport Cup, I always love having a bet in the great 2 mile race that it is. My Wee Man, one of the main reasons Blair Orange is going to Westport is that horse, so that'll do me. Yeah. Okay. What about for you? The other thing I want for Christmas, Michael, for clubs that race on a Sunday, would you mind doing your fields a little bit earlier? Maybe Tuesday would be a good example. Southland do theirs on a Monday for Sunday. Then we could do more preview on this show. I don't think it'd be that big a change. I think it's time it did change.
What I would like to see is one of those trotters, hopefully Speeding Spur, come up and really stand up. With Nomon Bay, we've got these trotting races and they've been won by an array of horses, but I want a horse to stand up because you know why? What I want for Christmas isn't this year, I want it for next year. I want the Inter-Dominion Trotting Series back. The more I speak to everybody involved, and as you would have heard from last week, the rumours were there, it's now confirmed. The Inter-Dominions are going back to 3 rounds of 3 heats. So they changed their mind from 2 rounds of 3 heats because they listened to the public. Well, you ask anybody in harness racing if they want the Trotting Series back and they'll just say, of course I do.
Yeah.
So why not do it? There's nobody has given me a good reason we do not have an Inter-Dominion Trotting Series now. We created this and had it for all these decades, and now we've given it away.
Yeah.
You think the Gallops would say, oh, we don't need the St. Ledger, let's just give it away?
No, bring it on. All right, what's ahead for us box seat-wise? A couple of shows still to go. There it is, the 27th for us. That'll be an in-depth preview of a massive day at Alexandra Park. Multiple Group 1s, National Trot, Auckland Cup, Sire Stakes, Sale Series final, huge money there. We'll be back to review all of that, talk about some of the upcoming features, particularly across the Tasman. And then when we do return,
then we'll have a hiatus.
Yeah, 3 weeks.
I want to use that word because I want to show you how big my vocabulary is.
Yeah, that's a big word. Hunter Cup Great Southern Star preview. Really looking forward to getting into that because, as you've already mentioned, there'll be a heap of Kiwis there.
And the Victoria Derby too. Look, at that stuff at the back end of January is going to be huge. And obviously, Laz is going to race in between there potentially 3 times. So, to everybody who watches the show, thanks for watching, both of you. And drive safe over Christmas. Don't get drunk and drive somewhere silly because we need all the viewers we can have for the new season.
Yep.
Yeah, have a good Christmas.
Yep, Merry Christmas to you, Michael, and everyone at home. Looking forward to seeing you in a week's time.